she and Christine had accomplished what they needed to do to clear up the mess that they inherited, and she as well as Christine were going on to other things.
That was Republican School Superintendent Tom Horne explaining why the top 2 administrators of the state school voucher program suddenly quit last week. The word was they accomplished all they needed to do, so why stick around? It was the start of a rough week for the Empowerment Scholarship Program, less than a year into the largest voucher expansion in the country. By the end of the week, school voucher supporters were pushing back hard. So, what's the fallout? Joining us to discuss that and much more, Christine Jones, an attorney and a former Republican candidate for governor, and Stacey Pearson, a Democratic strategist at Lumen Strategies. Welcome back to Square Off.
Good morning. Morning.
So I want to do just a quick rundown of that tough week. The top 2 leaders abruptly quit the voucher program days before a new contract is being awarded for managing the program. So not sure what happened there. Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs is warning of a projected $320 million budget deficit next year because of the program's explosive growth in the first year that all Arizona students are eligible. And Democratic Attorney General Chris Mays put out a consumer alert about the program and asked for evidence of fraud. Christine, I'll start with you. Which of these developments should concern the taxpayers who foot the bill for the $500 million voucher program, or, as voucher supporters say, none of them matter?
Well, anything that spends money that comes from taxpayers matters, especially to Republicans. So I do think I'll grudgingly give Chris Mays a little bit of credit to say that the thing we should be focusing on here is fraud. I do happen to know, having had conversations with people at the Department of Education, that they are singularly focused on fraud in that program because it is a very popular program. Parents are very much enjoying the ability to choose where they send their kids to go to school. So I think as we look at spending hundreds of millions of dollars on anything, we have to have some integrity in the process, even the people who are adamant supporters of it, to say, what are we spending the money on and is it going to actually educate children?
I'm glad you made that distinction because I hear from parents who use the vouchers, and many are happy with it, yes. Especially parents of special needs children and parents who homeschool, especially those. So we get that. Yeah. The issue, as you, I think, correctly pointed out, is money and maybe even more, management. 2 directors just quit out of the blue.
Well, and the software system, the actual system itself designed to distribute this money, has no back-end accountability. In fact, it was leaking data all over the place. So folks who have children, who have IEPs, who have disabilities, their information is all over the World Wide Web. It's all over the information superhighway. And I just can't wrap my brain around how this isn't being addressed as Groundhog Day with the charter experiment from 25 years ago. We passed a program that was leading in the nation. It blew up in a way that outcomes weren't being watched and being measured. Kids suffered as a result. And we're doing it all over again. This time it's just down the street from you in the homeschool with the 5 kooky kids.
Yeah, and there is virtually no accountability or transparency for the program.
I'm going to stick up for the homeschool kids. They're not all kooky.
They're not all kooky. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Interesting that Katie Hobbs' projections are based on the same projections Tom Horne made back in May that Katie Hobbs at the time and the legislature's independent budget committee also said at the time were a little suspect. So my question is, where is Katie Hobbs going with this? We know she initially wanted to do away with the program. Is this leading up to something, perhaps?
Oh, I think they would desperately love to do away with the program. And so I'm seeing sort of a lot of statistics, Stacey, maybe you are too, of people talking about how few people are now going to public schools, and it's all blown out of proportion. I think Hobbs obviously now has a better chief of staff, probably more focused on things that matter. Shout out to Chad Campbell, who I know we all have a conflict with here. But if she really wants this to go away, focusing on what Stacey raised, which is, are you administering the program appropriately, is a much better gameplay for her than we're spending too much money on it, because it is what it is on the money.
All right, onto a subject we can all relate to, the historic heat. We've been busy confronting one existential threat, water, and kind of ignoring this, and wow, what a month we've been suffering through. I've asked both of you to think of effective policy responses to the relentless warming of our state. Stacey, I'll ask you to go first.
Look, I applaud the administration for acknowledging we have a problem. And I mean this in terms of the Biden administration. But trees, we're going to start with trees, $1 billion in trees. I have a lime tree that is stunted. I mean, it is suffering. It needs intervention. It needs medical care. I mean, this is where we're going to start. We need to get so far ahead of where this is. If we were talking about trees in 1998, great. They'd be nice big fellas now. They'd provide lots of shade. But we're so far past trees and better insulation. Like we need to get into this heat island. Like we've got cool pavement on my street and next door blew up because the lady around the corner doesn't like that you see tire marks. Like, lady, we're all frying. Like, please stop. Please stop complaining.
You're kind of exactly where I'm at. I just keep, how? I mentioned in my interview with Andre Cherney, okay, carbon tax? Do we have to get that aggressive?
Well, to Stacey's point, a carbon tax isn't going to solve an issue today in July of 2023.
Nothing will solve an issue. Can we stipulate that? Nothing will solve an issue today.
And clearly we're all a little loopy because we're all giggling over our brains being fried. But, you know, I think, look, if we're going to be compassionate and say, what can we do today? We have to give people a place to stay that's not in 119-degree weather on a hot piece of concrete. My church is doing that. I know many churches around the valley are opening up gymnasiums and sanctuaries and air-conditioned spaces. Does it make sense to plant trees? Yes, but that's not a today's solution. So for policymakers, I think they have to say, if we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on vouchers, can we spend a few million to keep people from dying in the heat? And I think that is really only, and please don't say I'm a bad Republican for saying that. I just care about human beings, and I think if we really care about people dying in the heat, that is the only thing we can do today.
Get them out of it.
Yep. So it sounds like it's a triage situation.
I see what you did there with the pun.
Triage.
The triage.
Oh, you. But seriously, this is going to take a much bigger lift to just get us somewhere safe within the next 5
and
10 years.
newsflash, it's hot in Phoenix in the summer.
Well, and you know,
we've been knowing this.
But we're also looking at the folks that in terms of triage, pun intended. You know, we're looking at that, but we're also looking at middle class folks that can't afford a $12,000 air conditioner replacement, whose houses are now 88 degrees. I mean, we're squeezing that middle in a way that they're foregoing car repairs and they're foregoing child back to school stuff and groceries. I mean, that's where we're seeing this middle just drop out.
Okay, on to the Chutzpah Award of the week. It goes to Kathy Herod of the Anti-Abortion Center for Arizona Policy and the right-wing Arizona Free Enterprise Club. They want a judge to give them, and only them, a free pass to ignore a new state law requiring the disclosure of donors' names. Herod and the Free Enterprise Club say their donors are subjected to harassment. What should the judge do?
Well, we have already a Supreme Court opinion on this, right, that says you can't bar free speech. I think Terry Goddard's ballot proposition said the voters of Arizona had an opinion on this. At a minimum, from a legal standpoint, I don't think we can carve out a particular set of people. If you have active threats against your life, go to court and get a restraining order. Limiting speech is not the way to do it, from my position as a constitutional conservative.
What should the judge do?
Oh, this is just rich. I mean, this is just, this is insanity. I don't like the new rule, so I don't want it to apply to me. I'm sorry, the new law, so I don't want it to apply to me. It's bonkers. Like, look, voters want to know where the money is coming from, be it this country, be it another foreign adversary, be it the guy down the street who's, you know, a anti-LGBTQ kook. I mean, they want to know who's paying to influence the outcome of elections. I don't know why this wouldn't apply to her.
Not to mention, you're going to have a lot of people lining up at the courthouse door if the judge allows that. So we'll see what happens. Finally, I want to end quickly. The do-nothing legislative session resumes on Monday. After a long layoff, a lot of lawmakers have been collecting a nice per diem while they've been off. What's going to happen on Monday? Is this just going to end?
I think our friend Ken Bennett might come riding into the rescue, actually. And he's done this before, right? Ken is a lovely person. He's eminently likable. And if Peterson and Toma can't get together with Hobbs, sorry to throw out the name salad here, but I think I'm going to make a prediction that Ken Bennett comes in and tries to bridge the gap and get a deal done.
On Prop 400.
On Prop 400.
State Senator, Republican State Senator Ken Bennett of Prescott. Your prediction?
Well, the folks at the table are saying that negotiations continue, and that hasn't always been the case. And so, as sarcastic as I've been today, I do have faith that there are some adults in the room who just want to go home. They're just done. Like, just let's pick this fight back up again in January.
Boy, that heat's getting to you.
It totally is.
Christine Jones and Stacey Pearson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And go get a cold drink.